Hey, what's going on? In this video, I'm going to show you how I edited this photo in Lightroom from this raw file here. So this was the picture I took straight out of camera of my truck. This was shot on a Sony A9. You can see the aperture's 2.8, ISO 200. This is the edit I came up with after spending about maybe 20 to 30 minutes just messing around with the image afterwards. So I'm going to show you today how I came up with this edit. I'm going to do it a lot quicker than I originally did because I was messing around quite a bit on it. You can see all the edits over here. But I'm going to quickly show you how you can create a photo edit like this pretty quickly. So I will be using a preset. I'll talk about that in a second. First, I'm going to click the import to get back to my original photo. I'm going to start off by just cropping this up a little bit. So I want the truck to be, I got to change the aspect ratio to 4:5 for Instagram. I want the truck to be kind of near the bottom so we have a lot of the trees in the shot as well. So I think something like that. Try to have an even amount of space on the left and right here. I think that looks best. So that looks pretty good there. The next thing I'm going to do, I already know which preset I'm going to use. It's by AndrewOptics. If you guys want me to review his preset package, let me know. Picked it up about a month ago. Absolutely love it so far. But I was testing around with a lot of different, or I was messing around testing a lot of these different presets that I have. But I found this preset here by AndrewOptics looks amazing. If I just apply this City Streets preset, you can see right away. Either one, I like the kind of darker one, will brighten up the truck here. But either of these look really good. So I went ahead and I applied the City Streets -1. So that just brings the exposure down a bit. I'm going to bring the exposure up just a little bit. I'm not going to do too much to it because I will just brighten the truck up. So the next thing I want to do is I want the truck to stand out. So I'm going to select this tool up here. I'm going to go to lighten, but I'm actually going to lighten it maybe, let's start with about 75. So I'll just kind of start somewhere and then I'll kind of go from there usually. I've got the feather at 100, which I think is important. I like the feather up quite a bit. And I'm just going to make a shape about the size of the truck. And we can always check our, so I'm going to click done. We can check our edits here by just clicking on, where are we here? This little button here just to see exactly what was touched. And you can see there a lot of the brightness came towards the middle, probably because the feathering's so high. So it might be a little dark on the edges here and on the back, which we can fix up with the brush here. So I'm going to go to the brush and I'm just going to go to, I'm going to turn it down a little bit because they did get brightened up a bit. I'm just going to brush in this back. I think it's a little bit too dark. So again, you can be really precise with this, or you could just kind of, if it's just a photo for Instagram, you don't have to be too precise. So I don't like to be too precise with my photo editing. You can see here, I'm just kind of filling in the areas that I think are a little dark. I'll maybe even do this bottom part of the truck too, because I think it's a little dark and I kind of want it to stand out. So again, that probably didn't do too much, but it did enough to make it look a little bit nicer. You can see now the front is a little lighter, and overall the truck is looking a lot better with that increase in the exposure. Next, I'll probably darken this road down here because I don't want, there's not much to look at down there, and I kind of want to bring out this truck even more. So I'm going to, sorry, I did that pretty quick. I clicked this button up here, and we're going to go to custom, and I brought this down to -40 for the exposure. What I'm also going to do for this is I'm going to bump up the clarity because I think it looks pretty cool if the ground there is kind of, I don't know, kind of like rugged looking or whatever. Bumping up the clarity, so I'm going to click done. I think that looks pretty cool. I might even darken this more. So if I were to grab another box here, another rectangle, and do another 40 and maybe bring it in from over here. Kind of just a different angle, kind of angle it with the truck. I don't want to get too close, too high up on the truck here because I don't want to darken the truck too much, but maybe I'll just do something like that. From there, that's looking pretty good. I think maybe the back end's still not looking as light as I would want it because this stands out a ton more than the back, which you kind of do want. This is kind of the nicer part of the truck, but I do want a little bit more light back here. So something like that, just painting on. So you can always click show selected mask overlay if you want to see where you're painting, which is usually pretty handy. You probably should be checking, but because I'm doing this quick, I'm not gonna have it on. I'm gonna click new because I want to do a new little mask here with the brush. So I'm gonna click new, and I'm actually gonna bring the exposure back down. I'm gonna go like -60 and see how that looks. Minus 0.68. So you can always scroll up or down on your mouse if you've got a mouse wheel. That can make this brush bigger, and then I can just brush over the sky here. I want to brush kind of everything around the truck. I don't want the truck to get any darker, but I want to kind of darken these trees, and I think they look a little better when they're darker. They're not really overexposed, so you can see more of the detail when it's a bit darker. Not that they were overexposed, but they were, when they're lighter, you don't see as much detail. So I like when they look dark here, and then the snow kind of stands out on the trees here. Might darken just outside the truck here a little bit, maybe even on the ground a little bit. So I kind of like to mess around just with the exposure quite a bit at the start of the edit. So if you want, you can always use the erase tool. So if you went a little too far somewhere, maybe you got a bit of the truck, you can use the erase tool. You can click show selected mask overlay, and you can see maybe I didn't want this touching the truck here. So I'll erase that a little bit. Maybe down here a little bit, down there, erase that. Just make sure it didn't get on the truck too much. So I think that looks pretty good. So then I would click done. And I think this kind of looks a little too unrealistic. You can see this kind of is pretty bright and this is kind of dark. So I'm gonna go back to the brush here and I'm gonna turn this on so I make sure I grab the right one. Where are we here? So we had those two. Oh, I couldn't see it because it's up here. So we grabbed this one here. I was looking for the one on the trees, and it's a little too dark, so I'm going to turn this off now. And I'm gonna bring this up a little bit. So I think about -36 should be pretty good. I think the ground here is a little too dark, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go back to these two. So I had two here. I'm gonna go back to this one and dial it back a bit because we did brush over it as well. So we kind of went a little overboard on that. I think that looks a little better. Now it doesn't look as unrealistic with the truck standing out so much. And overall, this looked pretty good here. This is, I'd probably throw this on Instagram for sure. But another edit I know I did was I wanted to mess around with this windshield. It was a little too bright for my liking. I think it looks pretty cool as is, but I also wanted to see what it would look like if I darkened it, and it ended up looking a little better when it was darker. So I'm just gonna paint over this windshield here. You can see the exposure over there is -0.68. So brush that. I'm gonna uncheck this so I can see what happened to the image. Go down here, toggle it on and off, and just look at the windshield, and you can see it looks a lot better. The windshield was overexposed before, but if I darken it, it's going to bring out the details here in the tree reflection. So I think that looks pretty sweet there. And overall, just taking a look, I'm hitting the backslash here, and you can see the difference there. That looks pretty awesome. I think I'm pretty happy with just that. I think with the edit I made previously, I probably had a couple other things. I think I went in and brightened this front end up a little more. I think I went into the chrome, and I'll just show you quickly. So I think I went into the chrome and just bumped the exposure up a little bit. I kind of zoomed in on it. So if you want to zoom in, you can do that as well. So I can go 4:1, and I can get really fine with these details. I'm just gonna go, let's go 2:1 here. Increase the size of my brush and just go over some of these parts that I want to see stand out a little bit. Hold down spacebar, go over to the GMC, maybe brighten up the GMC. Maybe this whole front grille. It's not going to do too much. It's a really subtle difference, but it might look pretty nice for a little final touch here. Maybe the chrome up here too looks pretty cool if we brighten that a little bit. So that would be something that I would do, is just a couple fine touches like that. But overall, that looks awesome there. Now, one thing I did do, I guess I'll show you quickly, but I have this in another video. I edited out these railings here on the left and right side too as well. So I won't actually show that in this video, but I will link to that within this video. So check the card in the YouTube video or check it in the description below. But what I did was I right clicked here, went to edit in, and went to edit in Adobe Photoshop and use the content fill aware tool. So I edited those out, and that is pretty much the final picture there. So I think that took about, what, maybe 7 to 10 minutes. You got a pretty sweet edit there. I think I would brighten up this truck a little more. Let me just go to this and mess around with it. I would probably use the brush tool just to kind of brighten this area up. But overall, I think that looks pretty cool. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you like seeing these Lightroom edits, let me know by clicking that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. I'll be uploading more of these in the future, especially if these videos get thumbs up. So let me know, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time.